Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shay Ali here with you on Inspired Online. And you might be noticing that I haven't got my lovely background today, and that's because Zoom has had a major outage in the UK. Having where there's a will, there's a way. So we're using StreamYard today to connect with the beautiful Linda Thomson. So thank you for bearing with us. Linda, if you haven't seen or heard of her before, is an amazing coach. She specializes in the world of transformation. She has taken the Inspired stage before, and she's got her own amazing transformational stories. This is someone who's got this real personal experience with battling through adversity, getting through it, coming back even stronger than ever, and now applying that to, working with so many other people around the world. And we met through Tony Robbins' world. So she is an expert on all those tools and so much more. So we're delighted to welcome her today. Welcome to Inspired Online. I'm going to start with the question that we ask all our guests, which is, if you had to share your wisdom with the world in a nutshell, what would you say?
Well, first of all, gorgeous introduction, so thank you for that. Actually, as soon as I spoke there was a grumbling sound. Does it sound okay to you? Just checking.
Yeah, it sounds perfect. I think it's just one, my computer making its noises, and two, we've got Sam saying hello. So using StreamYard, I can actually see your comments. So if you're watching, say hi, ask any questions. It's all good. I can actually respond to them today. So sorry, take it away.
Okay, great. Well, my answer to that is, and my answer is based on really everything I've learned over the last 25 years. And one of the things that I really believe unites us as a community, as a society, is our experience of pain. And that's physical pain, emotional pain, and spiritual pain. So, when we don't know what our purpose is, or we don't have a meaning in life. And we've all been through that at some point in our lives. Some of us have been through it in more depth than others, but it's the experience that really unites us all together. And our tendency as human beings is, when we're going through a painful experience, whether that's emotional, of course, physical and emotional are all tied together, we isolate ourselves rather than reaching out. And the most important thing to do is to reach out and ask for help. And we've got a tendency to do the opposite. And I really believe in finding our personal power. And everyone, that shows up differently for everyone. Some people, like a powerful day is being able to get out of bed and put their clothes on. So we all have that inner space of our powerful place. Yeah. And one of the ways that we can really find it is not by cutting ourselves off, it's by reaching out. I think at the moment, with everything that's been going on in the world, we're experiencing that isolation is a really, really uncomfortable thing. And I do hope that, as we move through what's happening in the world, that more people will understand the value of asking for help, for reaching out, for creating a connection with someone else. And that's something that really eases any kind of painful experience.
Yeah. Well, that's, such great advice. And I know that in the concept of like masculinity, femininity, one of the things I was taught, at the risk of sounding sexist to our listeners, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's like actually getting into your feminine is about asking for help. And, for men also, if you're struggling on your own, it's an important thing to do, that power of delegation, that power of community even. But if you're in that place where you feel that you're too embarrassed to ask for help, or you feel like, I should be able to do this alone, what would you say to those people that have got that kind of mindset?
Well, I think it's about recognizing how much help is actually out there. Because some people, are embarrassed about asking someone, a close friend, or a relative or their partner. But there's so much help actually that's out there that is anonymous. And whether that be online now, because of course, like the online community has become like everything, like a huge bonus and a huge drawback at the same time. But the bonus is that you can do so many things in an anonymous sense, and find the help that you need without, without sharing something that you feel uncomfortable sharing with. And it's funny you just say that about, the difference between men and women, because very sadly, the biggest cause of death between young men. So dominating on a Sunday afternoon. But
yeah, well, it's important though, because we want you to stay alive.
and it's suicide, because even nowadays, like, young men don't feel comfortable about talking about their feelings, and women have different kind of friendship groups. So what happens is that they have an outlet for sharing things that are painful for them, and younger men feel that they bottle them up until actually it's too great a pain. And it's something that is very, very sad still about our society and our community.
Yeah. In terms of, we mentioned how women often have those people that they can talk to, men sometimes don't. Is it different for men and women in terms of how to heal that pain that they're going through? We had John Gray the other day, who was talking about how women, really heal from sharing and from talking. And would that be the same for men?
It really is. I mean, we're not actually that different in that experience. The thing that's different is what is seen as the acceptable way of being asking for help. I think there's still this sense of, and it was one of the many parts of my journey was understanding that vulnerability isn't weakness, and being able to show vulnerability is actually a sign of courage. I mean, some people will be familiar with Brené Brown, and that's very much her message, that vulnerability is the strength. It's the same for men and women. When men have that opportunity and the kind of community and people where they can share with, it's the same thing. That's what starts to form that process of being able to heal something, or move past something, or move through something onto the other side.
So, can you talk to us a bit more about the magic of vulnerability? What does that do if you're willing to be vulnerable, and how do you even be vulnerable? Because, especially for men, you brought up to be strong, and, even I was, you brought up to be tough. And now we're being taught vulnerability. How do we manage all that?
Well, I mean, this is the thing, it really does take that step of courage, because when we are vulnerable with another person, it means we're really showing the true sense of who we are, and opening ourselves up to the possibility of hurt. Because we might say how we really feel, or we talk about things that are painful for us. It's it's an openness, and it's when we are open that we have that possibility where we could be hurt. So it takes that step of courage, but it's also how we can truly connect with someone else. Because if you've got a mask in front of you, and I've totally been there. And most of us have at one point, is that when you put a mask or a bit of armor between you and another person, you can't connect with them.
Yeah, and that's really interesting about the concept of, the masks we all wear in life, and, perhaps we all wear different ones at different times. What are healthy masks that we can use, and when do we know that it's safe to drop them?
Well,
if we drop them at all, I don't know. Maybe you're always wearing one.
Well, I think there's part of it, and I quite often talk about having a suit of armor that's an invisible suit of armor that you wear. And it's choosing who really deserves you to see yourself, because we all have to build up a certain amount of trust with someone to allow to see ourselves. And I think it's normal and healthy to wait until you've created a level of connection with someone. And I think particularly in the world that we're living in, where there are some people out there who can abuse others and abuse trust and abuse a sense of vulnerability. So I think it's healthy to create a sense of, well, I'm going to keep this on, and once I've kind of checked you out really, and I can see we've got that connection, well then I can open myself up. Because of course we've all had that tendency, particularly in relationships, where we've allowed someone in, we've opened our heart to them, we've got hurt, and then we're like, bang, I'm never going to allow anyone in again. And then we can't create those relationships. But there's a healthy sense in being able to protect yourself from abuse, really.
Yeah. And you talked about also the concept of, creating those connections and knowing just when it's safe to open up to those people. When I was little, I actually was very shy, and I'd be shy about making those connections and stuff, in terms of that one-on-one interaction. And some people still feel that way. So do you have any advice for our viewers out there on how you can create deeper connections?
One of the things we do in life is we walk around really in our own little bubble of our views, our opinions, our thoughts. And we're kind of bumping along together in our own little bubble. And we expect other people to behave and think in the same way as we do. And that's actually one of the things that creates disconnection. So the thing that creates that starting connection is about seeing things from someone else's perspective, but also being curious about them, because we do tend to be very much wrapped up in our own worlds, and not necessarily in a negative way. It's just like it's our own world. But when we start to be curious about other people, to ask questions, to offer help, to be interested in them, that's when we start to create that connection, because we all know talking about ourselves.
We do. That's the number one topic for most people, right?
And we love when someone's interested in us as a human being. So to start that, that connection with someone, it is just about asking questions. And taking that little step over thinking. I sometimes ask myself in various situations, what's the worst thing that can happen? And often it's really not as bad as the story you've created in your mind about what that might be.
Yeah, I think that was probably actually the statement that got me out of my shyness in my teen years. What's the worst that could happen if? And it wasn't the question, isn't definitely not the question that I ask all the time now, but it was so helpful then to think, actually the worst conclusion isn't that bad. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your story. How did you discover these? How did you discover the magic of asking for help and the magic of creating those deeper connections?
Well, it's been a long journey. I had what I'd call quite a normal life. And I had one of those days, and it's one thing that I speak about is that our life can just shift like completely in a moment. And I think lots of people feeling as though, one day that their life looked this way and the very next day it looked completely different and the world has a different day. So mine changed, like it's 25 years ago now, and I was involved in a really very serious road accident that I was lucky to survive. And that was a shift, and everything changed in that moment. And it's been, a journey of exploration ever since then. And one of the things that I kind of understood at that point was about, it was important for me to create a powerful meaning on what it was that had happened to me. And I'd done no personal development at that time at all. So I don't know where it came from. But I created this meaning that I'd been on the wrong path in life. And destiny had stepped in and changed everything for me. That I had no choice but to make that shift. And I kind of stumbled along learning really for quite some time. And I got proud, that my accident left many souvenirs for me, physical souvenirs that I had to continue learning for. And it was just really I discovered personal development in 2002, went to my very first 20 event. Never done any personal development before. Suddenly walked on fire, and it was really, I knew a door had opened up for me, and a new learning, and a lot of these lessons were quite transformational along the way for me. When I talk about vulnerability now, that was a big lesson for me. I come from Scotland. We very keep ourselves in Scotland. It was a new thing for me to even have a conversation about this kind of thing. And I've done a lot of reading, a lot of research. I went through some more recent surgeries as a result of what happened all those years ago. It's like the journey wasn't over from that. So there's been lessons that I've found out about what happens really when I've isolated, and what happens when I've asked for help. When I talk sometimes to people who are resistant towards that, and you always say to someone, "Do you like helping other people?" Yeah, I love helping other people. When you ask for help, you're giving someone else that gift.
Yeah.
I think someone who would love to help you too, because we all like doing it, and it's how we really do connect with other people. There's a really good TED talk about addiction, because I work quite a lot in addiction as well, where the guy, his family was all didn't have addiction himself. His whole family were, and his theme is that the opposite of addiction is connection. And
Wow.
that before, because we're addicted to all sorts of things, not just alcohol or drugs. We're addicted to social media, we're addicted to shopping, we're addicted to certain kinds of behaviour, and often those kind of behaviours, they're all insular, they all bring us into ourselves. But we connect with other people, when we create connections, when we, and there's scientific proof around this about the impact on our brain, the impact on our health. It transforms really everything in your life when you allow yourself to do that.
Yeah. Well, how do you get yourself from that place of, oh, you might be addicted to connection? Is that bad?
Well, do you know what? That can be possible as well. I think we've just got to be self-aware, and I think curiosity is a great quality to have, but curiosity starts with being curious about your own behaviour. And I have conversations with myself a lot about my behaviour and what it is bringing for me, because there's always a payoff with everything that we do. So when we can start to look at, okay, is this behaviour healthy for me? Is this behaviour serving me? Is what I'm bringing into my life the best thing for me? And being honest about what it's actually giving us. So, a lot of food addiction, well, it's just bringing connection. It's bringing, a pleasure that goes far beyond the pleasure of the instant mouthful. It's comfort. So you look at, okay, I'm getting comfort from, or a feeling of certainty, or, a feeling of belonging from this thing. It's like we don't really get that at a really fulfilling level from an object or for a thing. We get it from our connection with human beings, because we're social.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was interesting that you mentioned food there, and the connection that people feel to food. So if you're someone that is, particularly during lockdown, I'm hearing people addicted to biscuits and all sorts of things right now. What kind of process can you do to figure out what is that about? Or is it about something? Is it just about, I want some biscuits? Sorry, I'm talking about them now. I want some.
And I just actually had a similar conversation about this yesterday to a nutritionist friend of mine, because we were talking about everybody and what we want at certain times. And sometimes it is just be fine, like, I want a biscuit or I want some chocolate, and that's fine. But it's also about recognizing is how much are we doing it, and is it forming a habit? And then it is that place of curiosity when I'm asking for a biscuit, my brain is saying, "Give me a biscuit," and it is also because we start to build up neural pathways in our brain, because our brains are really super smart and a wee bit silly at the same time. So we create this pathway between, okay, I eat a biscuit and I feel good. So our brain now kind of learns that that's a pathway. So when we don't feel very good, our brain was like, wait a minute, last time we ate a biscuit or some chocolate, we felt better. Or we got a little bit of a rush, felt low in energy, had some chocolate, I felt better. So then it becomes this pathway and we reach for the thing or the biscuit or the chocolate as a response. Or it may be just a habit. It's 4 o'clock, therefore I do this. So again, coming back from this curiosity of just asking yourself and taking a moment to say, what is it that I really want? You know, and is it just like I'm a bit bored, or I feel a bit fed up, or I need a break, or I feel a bit low in energy, or you know, another reason, and then deciding, well, okay, well, now I've made that. It's like a pause. You know, we do things in a reactive mode, but if we kind of took a step back and said, okay, let me wait in this pause between the desire and the response, and then I'll have a conversation with myself about what is it that I really want. And maybe it is just the biscuit. Actually, maybe I would have the same result or a more effective one if I picked up the phone and called a friend, or if I went and got some fresh air, or I did some stretching, or, you know, I went on Facebook for 5 minutes. Or maybe what I need to do is sit and really, really enjoy the chocolate. Because how many times do we just eat the chocolate or eat the biscuits, and like suddenly there's an empty packet, an empty plate.
Oh, where did they go?
Those biscuits.
It wasn't me.
So if we're choosing to have it, and there's really nothing wrong with it, but choose to enjoy it mindfully. You know, really savor it, really taste it, rather than, you know, and we do this so much all the time where we're on our laptops and we're trying to do multiple things at the same time, and that means we're not really doing any of them 100%. So when we start to really enjoy and appreciate what it is that we're putting into our body, then we can say, yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that, and that made me feel, you know, just like gave me some pleasure, and it was fine. It's when we're using something to try and fill up the space where something else belongs, and it doesn't really work. So we think, oh, I'll have some more of it. Still doesn't work. And all of it, you know, our brain is crying out for the thing it really, really wants.
Indeed. Well, how can you discover what that thing is that your brain really, really wants? As you say, if you've got that gap somewhere and, you know, you're someone that feels, well, I don't have anything to fill it right now. What would you say to, you know, those questions?
I think it's a friend of mine the other day, and I'm feeling a little bit flat and just about some health things. And he messaged me back and said, oh, we need to find you something that will really feed your soul. And I sat with that question the whole day, because I think about these things a lot of what are the things in my life that feed my soul. And you know, when we think about happiness and joy, then it's discovering what are the things in your life that bring you moments of joy or are making you feel happy, and are there enough of them in our life, you know, and when we add more moments in, by when we sit and think about, you know, what are the things that I do that when I'm feeling great, what do I put in my day? Or when I'm feeling really not great, what are the things I do? What's my stress response? What do I do? You know, and it will vary between the glass of wine for some people, a bath, you know, exercise, because they work in all sorts of different ways. But it's getting more aware of the things we do in response to different feelings, and recognizing what are the simple joys that I have in my life. I've been teaching a webinar on 5-minute hacks for self-care. So it's about moments in. It's like, what can I do in 5 minutes that really make me feel good? You know, when's the last time I laughed? Like, maybe I need to be proactive, you know, and bringing moments of joy into my life, rather than waiting for them to happen, particularly during lockdown when we're all experiencing, and some people are dealing with lockdown better than others. And some people, of course, are really struggling. Actually, we're all impacted. Like, talk about like pain into power. The world is in pain. We're all had the thing that really brought us a sense of certainty, which is the world has just taken a bit of a curveball on us. So it's important at this moment to really recognize that we've all been affected by it. And therefore, we need to take care of ourselves at the moment. We need to make sure that we are implementing self-care, and not just physically, emotionally. It's about making yourself resilient, building up that armor.
And what are some of your favourite self-care things that you would do for yourself that perhaps we can do too?
Well, one of mine is I love hot baths, and I like to have a bath. Just is really soothing for me, and I like to read in the bath, and I like to have candles, because then I'm reading in love and soft light. So that's one of my favourite things. I love flowers. So I love my own, buy my own flowers. Girls, you live in your own
flowers.
So,
go buy them. Actually, I think there's some delivery florists still open, maybe.
And I have them in my living room. Like, so I'm staring actually a vase full of flowers that are actually dead now, so they need to go in the bin. But I buy them in my bedroom as well. So flowers cheer me up, but also it's about, I connect with people a lot. I've got friends that I really know that I can call on and help with me. I kind of like put on music. Music is a great way to change your mood. But I know we always advise people to dance in their living room. I don't dance in the living room, but I do dance in the kitchen.
Okay, well, that's all right.
Nobody can watch. But it's also about thinking back to when you were young. What are the things that were fun? And remembering the moment. So I have a gratitude practice, and I highly recommend a gratitude practice if you're not doing it already. And I used to do more kind of general, all the things I'm grateful for, because there's always something, even if you did a really crappy day. And more recently, and it's probably since lockdown, I've started looking at what are the 3 things that I'm grateful for today, specifically today. And then it really helps me look at the moments of the day that have been, special. And if it's not been a great day, I can always go with the general one. I've got a roof over my head, I had something to eat, I've got I do this, I do that. We've all got things to be grateful for.
I woke up alive.
Yeah. Now there's clothes in my wardrobe, far too many clothes. I have some great shoes.
Yeah, my house is not on fire.
And the thing about all of these practices,
all kinds of
scientifically proven. Now, it's not just about us thinking, this will make me feel better. And similarly with contribution, it has making a difference to other people. If you're feeling bad about you and your day, the quickest way to get out of it is to go and do something for someone else. And reach out and help someone else, and it takes us out of that bubble and into like a contribution bubble, and it will have a difference in long term on your brain chemistry, on your physical health, on your emotional health. So having these little practices, meditation, mindfulness, there's something for everyone. If you think it's not for you, there will be a practice that's out there for you, but putting it into moments. And when I started doing the 5-minute hacks, I had loads of fun finding all the things you could do in 5 minutes that would just like make your day better, make your day more fun. 5-minute TED Talks, there's 5-minute comedy, there's go and water your plants. It's like just like so many things, but it takes that way of the most of us, we've got to make it happen. We've got
Oh,
to be proactive in our own emotional well-being as well as physical well-being. It's like you don't get fit just by, sadly, by sitting on the sofa. You've got to.
aw,
I know, it's such a shame.
that's bad. Well, no, to be fair, I love my exercise, but you know.
But it's the same thing about our emotional well-being. As we've got to be proactive about it. We've got to have activities and things that really do soothe, and soothe at a higher level. And if you're doing things for yourself, I think, it's how can I make this even more effective? When I started having my reading baths by candlelight, I thought,
Oh,
why have I ever done this? Like with this horrible overnight, it's so much nicer to have candlelit. It's like flowers, like, they add into, I like my living room. It's very me, but, my living room with some flowers in it, or when it's tidy.
okay.
Really nice as well.
Yeah, no, and it's these. I love that. It's about the simple things that make us happy, and how about just making them super simple,
Yeah.
integrating more of them,
Yeah.
and then being grateful for them afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really key.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us today?
I think it would be to really to do that, to think about, what would be 3 habits that you could integrate into your life that would just amp it up a little bit. Because it's habits, it's like, our great change comes from making doing small things consistently, and then we turn around and make a big change. So it's about, I think, don't start and do everything all at once. It's like, pick 3 things. What are 3 things that I could start doing, that would, I think, would make a difference in my life? And and find a way to implement it. So I use alarms. I'm really forgetful. So I use alarms on my phone to remind me to do things, or I write them down. I know, it's like this old
Yeah, I do that too. Actually.
it takes a while, before a habit becomes a habit. So sometimes you've just got to help our way through. But it is about, we can all do at the moment with a little bit of extra joy in our lives.
Yeah. Definitely. Linda, thank you so much for your time with us today. I was wondering if our lovely audience would like to connect with you. Where can they do that?
And find me on Facebook is probably the easiest way. And if you're looking for if you look for Linda Thomson, remember it's like the holidays, so no P. Sometimes a lot of Linda Thompsons will come up. If you go Linda Thompson London, then actually they come up to the top.
Yay!
But no,
Awesome.
I'd love to connect with you. If you've got any thoughts or things you wanted to share about anything that we've talked about today, then I'd absolutely love to hear from you. And thank you, Shay, for inviting me today. It's
Oh,
all
absolutely.
part of everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's been such a joy, and I hope to see you in person again
I know.
sooner rather than later.
I know. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Take care, my lovely.
Bye-bye.